In this session, we are going to study about structure of an ovum or human egg. Ovum and human egg both are one and the same. Ovum is a singular word and ova is plural. So in the last session, we have already discussed about how ovum is produced in the ovary. After the ovum is produced in the ovary, it is released from ovary into the fallopian tube. So in this diagram, it is clear that ovulation is taking place. That is, the ovum is releasing from ovary into the fallopian tube. So you can find here, this is the egg part. Here we can find here the egg released from the ovary, and the releasing of egg from the ovary into the fallopian tube, the process is called as ovulation. So we are going to discuss about how this egg structure is. So now coming to the egg structure, we can find here that the egg is round in shape and it is 0.1 millimeter in its diameter. So one thing we have to remember, the human ovum is the largest cell in the female body and it is alethithal. A means absence. So absence of yolk, or the yolk will be present which is negligible. So hence the human ovum is called as alethithal egg. So now we are going to study the structure of ovum. So when we see the structure of ovum, you can find there are many layers are present. So from outside to the inner side, if you see the layers, it consists of the outermost is corona radiata. This is corona radiata. Inner to the corona radiata is a zona pellucida. Then we have vitelline membrane, then germinal, vesicle, and all the cell organelles. So all these parts we are going to study now step by step. So first here, this is the outer outline. This is just for your reference. So this is the outline of this ovum. So we are going to see that there are two egg coats are present. The outermost is called as corona radiata. So this part is called as corona radiata. So the name itself indicates that this corona radiata cells are radiating. It is radiating outside. Hence the name corona radiata. Here we can see that the cells of this corona radiata, they are present 2 to 3 layers of cells are present. And one more important thing is these cells are produced from the follicles. Hence this membrane is called as secondary egg membrane. So I have highlighted it, corona radiata. It is called as secondary egg membrane. Why? Because these cells are produced from the follicles. And this is a thick layer. And what is the main role of this corona radiata? Means it protects all the inner layers of the ovum. So next we are going to study about the next inner layer to corona radiata is zona pellucida. So this is zona pellucida, cream-like structure, zona pellucida. And one more important to remember in the zona pellucida is it is a non-cellular layer. It is a non-cellular layer. Means the layer is not made up of cells. So the layer is having jelly, thin material is present. So this jelly material is made up of glycoproteins like ZP1, ZP2 and ZP3. ZP is nothing but zona pellucida glycoprotein 1. So that is what we have written here. Zona pellucida glycoprotein 1 zona pellucida glycoprotein 2 and zona pellucida glycoprotein 3. So this layer is mainly made up of glycoproteins and it does not consist of any cells. Then we can find that this layer plays a very important role. See, what happens here is corona radiata, after as the sperm enters, you know that during fertilization sperm will come near the ovum and enters, the head part of the sperm will enter into the ovum. During that process, the corona radiata cells will disappear. Okay, it will be removed, degenerates. Then it enters into zona pellucida. So this zona pellucida has the sperm head reaches near the zona pellucida. This zona pellucida triggers the acrosomal reaction. I think you are remembering in the sperm head, there is a acrosome. And acrosome consists of many enzymes. So as soon as this sperm head comes near the zona pellucida, so the acrosome will break and all the enzymes will be released and the reaction will take place. And then we can find that this zona pellucida layer, it will become so big, that is, we can say thickness. In thickness, it will become more thickened in such a way that as soon as one sperm enters into the inside, that is into the cytoplasm, it does not allow any other sperms. So please remember that the zona pellucida prevents polyspermy. Poly means many, spermy means sperms. So zona pellucida, once one sperm enters into the ovum, it does not allow any other sperms to enter. And of course, it is going to protect the layers of the cell. Especially, it is nothing but the ovum. So next layer we are going to study. So that is nothing but the vitelline membrane. So now this is a vitelline membrane. We have already discussed this about corona radiata. Inner to that we have discussed zona pellucida, and inner to that it is a vitelline membrane. So this vitelline membrane, please remember, plasma membrane is called as vitelline membrane, and this plasma membrane is also called as oolemma, and this membrane is called as primary membrane. Why? Because plasma membrane is synthesized by oocyte itself. So vitelline membrane is called as primary membrane. Corona radiata is called as secondary membrane. And then next we can see just below this plasma membrane, we can see there are many cortical granules are present. Cortical granules are present. These cortical granules we can find here. They are the tiny cells which are here. You can find greenish in color. Tiny circular cells. They contains many enzymes which helps in fertilization process. Then next we can say that there is a perivitelline space. Here, the space which is present here. So the space between the zona pellucida and the plasma membrane, this space is called as, perivitelline space. It is called as perivitelline space. So next we can say that in this we can find this is a first polar body. It is a first polar body. During oogenesis, we have studied that after first meiotic division, it produces polar body, and this is a first polar body. And here you can see wherever the polar body is present, this region forms animal pole. So this is an animal pole. Wherever the polar body is present, that area or above that we are calling it as a animal pole. Opposite end, this end is called as vegetal pole. It is called as vegetal pole. So upper animal pole, below we can say it as vegetal pole is present. So next we can find that cytoplasm. So has inner to that this area, this is nothing but the cytoplasm. So cytoplasm, it consists of two regions. So this is outermost, it is called as, this part is nothing but the exoplasm. So outer one is called as exoplasm. So this is nothing but the exoplasm, or it is also called as egg cortex. And then inner part, inner, all this area, this cytoplasm, it is called as ooplasm. This is called as ooplasm. It is called as ooplasm. And then we can find that ooplasm consists of all cell organelles like mitochondria, Golgi bodies will be present, lysosomes will be present. But please remember that centrioles are absent. So one important thing you have to remember that in this cytoplasm, the centriole is absent. So next part we are going to study about the inner nucleus. So coming to the nucleus, so this is nothing but the nucleus. So nucleus of ovum is called as germinal vesicle. So the nucleus itself of the ovum, we are calling it as germinal vesicle. And we know very well that the nucleus will carry a genetic material containing 23 chromosomes, that is haploid in nature. And then we can say that this nucleus will be always present near the animal pole, and the sperm, the entry of the sperm will be usually towards the animal pole itself. So here is a nucleus, here is a polar body, the sperm entry will be always from the animal pole. So this helps the sperm to reach the nucleus of the ovum easily. And then we can find that inside the nucleus there is a germinal spot is present. So germinal spot is nothing but nucleolus. Nucleolus plays a very important role where it is going to produce proteins responsible for the synthesis of ribosomes. And then we can find that, as I already told you, cell organelles are present, mitochondria, lysosomes and all, but it does not consist of centrioles. And of course, the human ovum is alecital. Yolk is absent, or if present, it is negligible. Very minute amount will be present. So next we are going to study about types of eggs based on different features. So we can find there are different types of eggs are there, and it can be differentiated based mainly on three things, that is distribution of yolk, how much how the yolk has been distributed, and amount of yolk, how much yolk is present, and presence and absence of shell. So first we are going to discuss about distribution. Depending on distribution of yolk, how the yolk has been spreaded or present in the ovum. So based on this we can find that there are three types are there. The first one is isolecital or homolecital egg. Iso, the meaning of iso or homo is nothing but the yolk is distributed throughout the cytoplasm. See, this is nothing but the yolk. This is nothing but the yolk, and this is a cytoplasm. This is a complete cytoplasm, and this is a nucleus. Okay, and this complete yellow part is nothing but the cytoplasm. So now yolk is distributed completely. So throughout uniformly it is distributed. So this we are going to call it as isolecital or homolecital egg. And this kind of eggs we can find in the chordata as well as in echinodermata. So next thing we are going to study telolecithal. So we are going to study telolecithal. So coming to the telolecithal, telo means end part. So telo, usually the yolk will be distributed to one corner and most of the time it will be towards the vegetal pole. So you can find here, so this is nothing but the cytoplasm, this is a vegetal pole, okay, towards one side, okay, one corner the yolk has been deposited. So that is, yolk is distributed mainly towards the vegetal pole. One side it is, one corner it came. So this type of yolk you can find in case of birds as well as in case of reptiles. And then we can find the other type, that is centrolecithal. The name itself indicates centro means in the center. So here you can find, so this is a part where you can find that this is a yolk. It is a yolk is present, and here this is a cytoplasm. Please remember, don't confuse. So this part is nothing but the cytoplasm, and here yolk is present. The pink one is nothing but the nucleus. So in between the cytoplasm and the nucleus, in the center, you can say that yolk is present. So this is cytoplasm region, and here we can find that the nucleus. So pink one is nucleus. So in between this you are going to find this is a yolk, and this kind of centrolecithal yolks can be seen in case of insects. So then next we are going to study about how the yolks has been differentiated by depending on the amount of yolk. So now we can find here alecithal, as we have discussed. So where yolks are present without yolk, yolk is absent. And if present, I am telling you, it is negligible. It's very minute amount of yolk will be present. It is seen in case of mammals. So example, human beings. Okay. So next one we can find that microlecithal. Micro means less. So microlecithal yolks means very less amount of yolk will be present. So example is sea urchin as well as starfish. The next we are going to study about mesolecithal yolks. So in the mesolecithal yolks are present moderate amount of yolk. So it is not more, not less. So average amount, that we can call it as moderate amount of yolk will be present in mesolecithal yolks. So example is frog. And please remember here one important thing. In case of alecithal, yolk is negligible or absent, I said. And as in case of human beings, so yolk is nothing but a nutritive tissue. So if yolk is absent, we have, that is human beings have placenta which supplies nutrition from mother to the young one, developing embryo. That is why if yolk is absent also, we can manage. Next we have studied microlecithal yolk and mesolecithal yolks. So in this case you have studied that in case of microlecithal only less amount of yolk will be present. Example starfish. And mesolecithal yolks we have studied frog as an example. So here what happens, because yolk is very less in amount, because of that in this case as embryo cannot develop completely, from the yolks the larva will come out. I think you are understanding. The larva will be coming out. Why larva is coming out? Why not a young one, miniature of the young one is not coming out? You have studied frog will produce tadpole, larva called tadpole. Why? Because inside the frog yolk is very less. So the food availability of the food is very less. So that little bit development will take place and the tadpole larva will be released. Which is larva will be released out further by consuming from the outside, the larva will develop. Okay. So next one is megalecythal or macrolecythal eggs. So mega or macro is nothing but it consists of more amount of yolk. So sufficient amount of yolk will be present. That is why the complete embryo will develop completely and the young one will be produced directly. It is seen in case of mainly in birds and in some reptiles it is seen. So next thing is based on the presence or absence of shell. So as we all know that shell is nothing but the protective membrane, and the shell, it mainly, though the shell is present, through the shell we can say that there will be a diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Exchange of gases can take place. So cleoidic egg is nothing but the egg which is covered by a shell. So it is having a porous shell will be present. So next we are going to study about non-cleoidic eggs. So non-cleoidic eggs means the shell is completely absent. In case of human eggs, fishes and amphibians, we can find this kind of egg. So in the next session, we are going to discuss about hormonal control of female reproductive system.